Hey guys, what's up? This is Jordan Crook with TechCrunch, and I'm here with Lawrence Lenahan, who is a professor at NYU, as well as Ben and Ryan, who are the founders of Hublished. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
Okay, so why don't you tell me why you're here with them, because that's kind of random.
I am here because I took my salary from teaching at NYU and invested in their company because they won the contest that if any of my students from the 2012 semester were able to start a business and get it up and running and it were investable, I would invest in it. And I'd put my money where my mouth is.
And so that's where these guys come in, right?
And that's where these guys come in.
Okay, so I went to NYU and I studied English literature, and I didn't know that your course even existed. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Ready, Fire, Aim, right?
The name of the course is Ready, Fire, Aim, and the basic idea is that everything you learned in school, especially in business school, is wrong. And that rather than planning, you should be doing. Rather than thinking, you should be doing. It's not saying you shouldn't be thinking, but you should be doing more. And there's a bias towards action. When you look at really what you have with the internet, where you're connected to every single person on the planet who really matters to you, how does that change the way businesses are built? How does it change the way you approach the market? How does it change the way you do everything? And I wanted to encourage these students to really think differently and how to build a business and how to take an idea and rather than sit there and build the 30-page business plan that they spend 6 months doing and polishing and sending out to a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, the best way to get funded is to go build something. Get it up and running and show people that you've got traffic, show people that you're generating revenue, show people that you're making a profit if you can even do that.
Right.
And these gentlemen were not the initial winner, but they were the ones who actually succeeded and stuck with it. And so the original team never took their financing down. Ryan kept pursuing me, and as any good entrepreneur should always do. And when the opportunity said, I'll give the check to you,
awesome.
Because it's between these two companies anyway.
Very cool. So for you guys, Ben, Ryan, what was the class like for you, and how do you deal with the fact that, were you planning on being an entrepreneur so early, or was this did you plan on maybe being an entrepreneur after you graduated, and this was kind of just accelerated the process? I mean, what was it like for you guys?
Well, I know I wanted to work on a new venture in college and try to start some sort of company, because that would be an important part of learning in college. It was something I knew I wanted to do since high school, and I didn't know how that would manifest itself. So I was kind of looking for a guide, looking for mentors in a big school, and I saw this class, and I was really excited. And I had known Ben before, and I'd known some of the other people on the Hublished team, Nis and Yair, from working on a previous project. And I signed up for the class, and I was really excited, and I told them about it. And then they told me about the idea they had been working on, and we wanted to incubate it through the class and take the idea and turn it into a prototype and then turn it into a real product.
We had actually had the initial idea for Hublished back in the summer of 2011, and I, along with my co-founders who are now in Rutgers University, Nisro and Yair Aviner, had the idea already for about 6 months before we found out about the class. And we had tried doing something on our own, but we had other projects we were working on. It was our first year in university. So it was also, we were sort of overwhelmed, right, and didn't know if this was the right time to take up a new venture. But Ryan had told me about the opportunity in the class, and I said, this is the best opportunity we're going to have, to get this thing off the ground. And we didn't even really care if we won or not. We just wanted the opportunity to go ahead and go through some type of regimen that would sort of force us to put this down on paper and think through some of the critical questions that we were going to have to figure out in order to make this into a business.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I have a lot of entrepreneurs come up to me, and I guess they wouldn't actually be entrepreneurs yet, idea guys, right? There are tons of people with ideas, especially, at your age in college. What is the first step? What do you do? You have an idea. What is the first thing that you do to start a company?
So I think ideas are only probably worth as much as that they can inspire the people around them to actually build something. And one of the things we learned in the class is that it's only important how much traction you can get. And an idea is worth, if the idea is only worth something if it can respond to an acute pain point within an industry, solving a problem for people that they would change their behavior or pay to solve that problem. So it's not just about coming up with an idea, but it's about coming up with a solution to a real problem. So I guess that's a good place to start. And the degree to which a pain point is acute or it's affecting people, that's how you know that you're onto something. So that's a good place to start, I guess.
Yeah, and I would take that one step further in the sense that I think we've learned that once you have an initial idea and think you have a solution, it's about coming up with hypotheses and theories and figuring out sort of clever ways that you can go about testing them. and sort of moving it forward. And so, we started with mock-ups. We would take the mock-ups and walk through businesses and just show them, would you want to use something that would have a series or a flow like this? And they would say yes. And then we would get to a prototype, and they would actually be able to go and play with it. And now, we're at the point where we're almost ready to launch our beta product, and so we can start testing theories, even in a more specific way and a more profound way than we were before. So I think that's important, is not to feel so overwhelmed, because of course, even with what we have now compared to where we were a year earlier, we're so far ahead. But even at that time, we had found sort of small ways that we were able to move it forward. So I think that's important.
Awesome. So Lawrence, what is your history as an investor, and what were you looking for specifically out of college students? You knew that they were taking courses. Is there a different standard, or what were you looking for out of your winner?
Well, as a firm, we've invested in a lot of companies over the year. Starting with with the seed investors in Pinterest, companies like Shopify, Lumosity, Second Market. A lot of the names that you've heard, and hopefully one day Hublished will be up there. The purpose of the class wasn't necessarily to find it. It certainly was not for me to find investable ideas. It was to have people who might not otherwise have this mindset to go out and do something. And they talked about an idea. Everybody has an idea. Oh, I had that idea for Facebook. Oh, I had that idea for this. Yeah, but you didn't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that go do something about it. Go do it. Maybe, by the way, it's important for me for the students to find out that they're not an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of them have come up that they are entrepreneurs. There have been a number of students who've come out and their businesses have been backed by firms. I really split this very much from my business. I almost view it as a conflict for Firstmark to invest, because I don't want to find a deal. I'd do it personally, and I have this separate. My goal is first as a professor, not as a professor mentor, not as an investor in this
right.
in this case. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give somebody just a catalyst to be able to really go do something and try it. I don't care if they fail, because they won't have failed if they go out and because they will have learned something. And it may not be this one, it may be the one after this, maybe the one after that. But I think entrepreneurship is a viable career path. It's not you give it a shot and see how you're doing it. It's like a portfolio. If you take one shot, the odds are you're going to miss. But if you make it part of your life and you grow over and over and over and over at it, I think this is as viable a career path. I think it's actually a much more viable career path than anything else out there.
So will you do this again with your class? Are you going to teach the class again?
I am not going to teach the class. I'm going to take a sabbatical at the very least. I've got some ideas I'm not done with teaching, but I've got some ideas of how I want to take this one step further. When we started this in 2008, this was new. This was the idea of going out and actually just doing it rather than planning it.
Let's talk a little bit more about Hublished before we close out here. I want to know what you guys are working on. What is Hublished? And you guys are launching in a month, right? So let's get people excited about it.
So Hublished is a new community for businesses to share and discover webinars, ebooks and podcasts, and other type of expert content.
Awesome. Are you guys going to make money off of it? How does the business
model work? I hope so. So we're playing with a number of different revenue models. Right now, our goal is just to board initial brands and publishers onto the platform, so we're not going to implement the revenue model right away. But I think if we can build an audience, there's a tremendous potential for pay-per-click, for robust analytics, and also possibly a freemium model like MailChimp has successfully implemented as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for Hublished.